Hey everybody, Steve Colescott here for EliteFTS.com. We have another part of my conversation with Clint Darden. And, this time out we're going to talk a little bit about an area that I know absolutely, I've picked up a little in the last year about Olympic lifting. I don't see myself doing any of that, as it takes too much time to learn. But I'm not saying that there's no value in it. You had an interest and you put out a video. What was the title of the video?
I think it was Strongman versus Powerlifting versus Olympic weightlifting, which is harder.
Okay. And after you came out with that was a very widely viewed video.
It blew up fast, really fast.
And lots of comments.
Most of them negative, yeah.
Okay. There was also a podcast where two of the guys who are, pretty high up in the Olympic lifting world, in the U.S. at least, they had some comments, and they talked about a local boy named Louie and his views on Olympic lifting and yourself. Tell us a little bit about what they had to say.
I went through and this, honestly, it kind of hurts because these are two guys that I look up to when it comes to this sport that I'm aspiring to, be a part of. And when two people that you look up to say anything negative about you, it does hurt. I don't care who you are. So it's a blessing, to have my name and anybody named Louis addressed in the same conversation, whether it's negative or not. And first of all, it was addressed that Louis should not be coaching Olympic weightlifters, and I should not be coaching it, and I shouldn't be commenting about it because I knew nothing about it. It came back to my video, and I made a 16-minute long video where I talked about my love for Strongman, and what that sport is like, and the feeling that I get inside when I'm competing, when I'm training. And for me, it's like nothing else. I mean, I got criticized so much that I said it was the hardest sport, and it's just me. It's one guy talking, on the YouTubes. That's all it is. It's my opinion. And I prefaced all of this by saying, I've only been doing Olympic weightlifting for 5 months. So you probably don't want my opinion anyway. Mm-hmm. So Strongman, by far, and I will stick with this probably to my grave, it's by far the hardest sport. It is everything. It's the most difficult to recover from because you are doing powerlifting, you're doing all the Strongman events, you're gaining weight, you're doing cardio. I'm 290 and I'm still nowhere near big enough to be competitive. It literally is every day of 6,000 plus calories of force feeding while doing everything. And then I spoke about powerlifting and the love behind that and what an actual power lift feels like in your mind, in your brain, recovering from the power lifts and not just physically, but the mental recovery that it takes just for training and powerlifting. Again, coming back to the food side and the calories needed. And I really don't enjoy eating. The only reason I eat at all, especially with my health conditions, is just because I want to be better in the gym. So I don't enjoy eating at all, even though I've been known as a master of eating mass quantities of food. And then I come back again to Olympic weightlifting, and immediately right off the bat, I state that right now, Olympic weightlifting is the easiest sport that I think I've ever done. But I'm 5 months into it. So come back to me in 2 years when I'm putting 400 pounds overhead every day on the clean and jerk, and I'm putting 300 pounds overhead every day in the snatch. It'll probably be a pretty different story on what I talk about as far as recovery. But really for someone, I'm used to deadlifting 800 pounds plus every single week, and I've done so for 5 years or so. I can box squat mid nines, whatever that translates over into. It translates into a 900-pound box squat. That's all it translates into. I can't bench press my way out of a paper bag, but whatever. To snatch 200 pounds every day in training overhead, that's nothing to pick up. There's no strain on my legs or back. clean and jerk, no strain on my legs and back. It's frustrating. It's mentally frustrating. So, anyway, getting back to what we're talking about, this radio podcast from these guys that I have a respect for, they basically took a 16-minute video and dialed that down into 2 sentences out of the whole thing. One where I said it's not a strength sport, and one where I said Olympic lifters don't eat very much. Okay, so we will go with the second one first. They don't eat very much. That's true. I don't care who says it. I don't care if they talk about, the 2 or 3 elite level Olympic weightlifters, the super heavyweights. They're always talking about eating tons. I don't care who they're discussing. You're going to go back and use 10 examples worldwide that you know of people that are force feeding food nonstop just to lift. I can give you 10 people within a 100-yard radius of me right now who eat like that all the time. Mm-hmm. Amateur powerlifters eat like that. Beginning amateur strongmen eat like that. And not just for 6 months, not for 6 weeks, not for the month leading up to this, for decades. I can't express that. All I can say is that you're coming, this is opinion coming from a guy who's gone from terrible in strongman to, an elite level strongman. Someone who's gone from can't squat the Smith machine bar to somebody who can squat 1,000 pounds. You've gone from someone who can't do the Olympic lifts, yet out of all those guys criticizing me, I'm the only one that qualified for Europeans and Pan Ams and almost qualified for Worlds 5 months into training for a sport. So I'm not exactly a nobody, and I will be at Worlds next year. And those people that are commenting, they will not be at Worlds next year, but I will be. Remember that. And the other side is, I said it's not a strength sport. And I think that is basically, people got all bent out of shape saying, that I meant that Olympic weightlifters are not strong. And that's not the case at all. The idea is that Olympic weightlifting is an everything sport. It is a coordination sport. It is a skill sport. In powerlifting, if you want to, if you're having squat issues, we can look at your squat and say, okay, we got to fix this and try this. And, someone can look at your technique and make, 50-pound increases in a day, and it's making small technical things. But the majority of the time, the answer is just get stronger. And with Olympic weightlifting, it's not just get stronger. The answer is very rarely just get stronger. And people want to use the case of a couple of American athletes that, they have full squatted, 700 pounds plus raw. Well, that's great, because there are a whole lot of Europeans that can't do that, but they're also at the Olympics holding medals. So that big raw squat you just did for the YouTubes means absolutely nothing if you don't have the technique and the training to back everything up. So Olympic weightlifting, it is an everything sport, but it comes down to skill and technique and finesse on the bar. So I don't know, with these guys with their podcast, if they happen to be watching this, I would love to go on their podcast and at least be able to give my advice, because I don't hate on anybody. There's no way I would hate on a sport in which I aspire to do. I wouldn't be training 14 sessions in the gym every single week in a sport that I want to tear down. I want to be a part of this sport. Mm-hmm. And it's just a beginner giving his opinions and ideas. So take it for whatever it's worth. And it's still just me having fun on the YouTubes.
Okay. One last thing in our conversation yesterday, I thought it was very interesting talking about the mental aspect on approaching the bar and how it differs between power lifters and Olympic lifters.
Absolutely. And it's a thing with Olympic lifting. They are really, before I call them OCD, I'm thinking, because I've got, when I left Cyprus for my 8-week vacation here, I left with nothing more than a tank top and a pair of shorts and a change of underwear, but I brought all of my powerlifting gear in my bag, so I'm just as bad. But the toughest thing about Olympic lifting is that you have to be mentally sharp, perfect mentally all the time, and it's a crazy mental game. And Dave and I talked about this yesterday. We see athletes walk up to the bar and they get into position with their hands on the bar and they get all set, and they will pull it up to their knees and just drop the bar and walk away. And everyone else watching is like, that guy's a chicken. Why don't you just pull the weight? You didn't finish the lift. You just chickened out. And that's not what happened at all. I mean, mentally, they were thinking about, shoulders back, tight arch, the positioning of the weight on the heels. There's so many details to think about for a lift to happen. And when you're just thinking about that, it literally is paralysis because of analysis. And you can't do anything once you are thinking about it has to be second nature. When someone is yelling at you when you're making the lift, keep the bar close, all of the cues that you hear in powerlifting, back, knees out. When someone is yelling at you like that with the Olympic lifts, it throws everything off, and you cannot.
And there's no time to course correct in an Olympic lift.
Absolutely, there's no time. It's not a slow lift. It's amazing, and you've at least once a week I go home and say, that's it. I'm quitting. I'm going to take up golf. I want to pick up something. I'm going to do anything besides this. But then there's always tomorrow or this afternoon to go back in and do it again. And that's when some of the best training sessions happen. Dave and I talked about this yesterday, getting into the mental side of the Olympic lifter. You see the lifter walk from the side of the platform in a straight line and turn and walk up to the bar. And that's nothing more than having that soldier mentality, or whatever you've convinced yourself it is in your mind, to where you're thinking nothing but just the bar, and you have the respect for the bar. You would never kick the bar or the plates. You would never throw a plate. They talk about it like it's a woman. Whether you handle it like a woman, you treat it like it's your woman, like it's your wife. You've got to have that respect for it, or it will eat you alive.
Whereas powerlifters try to beat the weight.
Absolutely. I headbutt the bar. My last squat session before I came here, I was headbutting the squat bar until blood ran down my face. And I got a PR, but it's whatever it takes at that point.
Excellent. Thanks.